And hello once more, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 34 of A Druid's Dozen. My name's John. Some people call me the Rock Druid. And basically I'm a bit of a radio DJ. Do a couple of shows. There's the Sunday Rock Show on BCFM Radio in Bristol, 93.2 FM. And there's the Rock Druid Show on astroradio.earth. Links to both shows are going to be in the description, which is going to be down there on YouTube, over there on Facebook. So yeah, tune in if you fancy. But basically this is just my little vlog where every week I drag a dozen albums out of my fairly substantial record collection and just chat about them for a bit. Sometimes it's a bit of a review, sometimes just personal feelings, sometimes it's just a bit of a story. Anyway, let's just dive straight in with this week's episodes, shall we? This week's selection, sorry. And we're going to kick off with this one. There's the front. This is One Night at Budokan by the Michael Schenker Group, double live album. There's the front. There's the back. Open that up. There's just a load of live pickies across the middle and very minimalistic sort of like credits and sort of like details, etc. Don't think there's any in the sleeves or inserts. No, there ain't. Okay, One Night at Budokan, the first of the Michael Schenker Group live albums, came out in, oh, can't see the date on it. I shall have to consult on the inside. No, I'm going to have to consult the. I have to going to consult a label. The 81, 82, 1981. Now, Michael Schenker, German guitar hero, flying V kind of genius that he is. Superb guitar player. I don't think there's going to be many people that are going to doubt the sheer ability of Michael Schenker as a guitarist in the metal genre. Started out as a young man in the Scorpions originally. Believe it or not, at one point was kind of courted by the Rolling Stones, but then went on to UFO, left the UFO, and then formed the Michael Schenker Group. 2 studio albums followed. There was the Michael Schenker Group and MSG, and then during the Japanese tour they recorded this. The lineup consists of Michael Schenker on lead guitar, Paul Raymond, another former UFO Illuminary, on rhythm guitar and keyboards, the legendary Cozy Powell on drums, Gary Barden on vocals, and a guy called Chris Glenn on bass. Now, straight up, this ain't a bad album. The performances are quite good. It captures, I mean, I remember seeing MSG live a couple of times around about this period, although I think the first time I saw them was a bit after this, 83, on the Assault Attack tour. But overall, they doing a fine performance, doing a fine show. Great selection of tracks ranging from mainly it's MSG tracks, Are You Ready to Rock, Into the Arena, Armed and Ready, The Attack of the Mad Axe Man, Cry for the Nations, with UFO's Doctor Doctor chucked in as the kind of set closer. So yeah, great album, but there is one big elephant in the room, and quite an amusing one as well. Listening to this album, you notice that the drums are a little bit loud. It's kind of, basically, in places it sounds like a Cozy Powell drum solo with with Michael Schenker and the rest of the boys kind of noodling away very quietly in the background. And there lies the story behind this album. The band decided to self-produce this one. What could be easier than mixing down a live album? You get the master tapes from the mobile studio or off the desk. You run them back to an in-house studio. You just tweak that the levels are like, and then leave it at that. And so the band went in and started to kind of just do the kind of tweaks to mix down the album. Now, as we can only speculate as for the reasons why this happened, but basically Cozy Powell, the drummer, was slipping back into the studio when the rest had left and mucking about with the mixes again. Why? Well, there's several people that postulated a number of possibilities. Michael Schenker was a quite a notoriously difficult person to work with at times, and so was Cozy Powell. Were they needling each other, trying to wind each other up? Cozy Powell was also renowned as a bit of a party animal, and and a bit of a joker. Was he just kind of joshing around? The result was that when these, and you got to blame Michael Schenker himself for not actually checking the mixes before they went off to the label. But anyway, long story short, the album came out, the drum solo came out, and basically led to an irreversible breakdown of relations between Michael Schenker and Cozy Powell. Cozy Powell was sacked, and I think Gary Barden quit at the same time over the stress within the band that all this caused. They got Graham Bonnet in, which didn't last that long, one album, and then Gary Barden came back, and I think it was Ted McKenna, the Alex Harvey band drummer, replaced Cozy Powell. But anyway, Michael Schenker Group's still going to this day, still bringing out some pretty good stuff. So, but this is an interesting one. It's a good album, and I've heard a lot of drummers like practicing to this album because put it on and playing along because you can actually hear what Cozy Powell's doing all the way through. And Cozy Powell is one of the greatest rock drummers ever. So as a demonstration of his craft, it's good, it's brilliant. And as a kind of Michael Schenker Group album, the mix lets it down. Yeah. One Night at Budokan, Michael Schenker Group. Okay, next up, we're going to have something brand new. This is a brand new release. This only came out, just before Christmas. This came out. It's Port of Spain by a band called Tritonic. There's the front. There's the back with the guys themselves. They're a duo with guests. Open up. There's the inner sleeve. It's got press pack, so there's the disc. And here I have a sticker of the album cover. Got a little postcard thing. There's a kind of interesting, they got a card type thing with a press release on it rather than a thing. Gives you a kind of track by track sort of like breakdown kind of thing. Might even be lyrics, I'm not sure. Anyway, and then on here there's a little note that says, "Hi John, here's a copy of the Port of Spain written by ex-Panic Office member Pete, produced and mixed mastered by ex-Panic Office member Sam, with artwork by ex-Panic Office member Phil. I thought it might interest you. Merry Christmas, Pete." Now, loads of you with long memories might remember in an early episode of this series I reviewed an album by a band called Panic Office, called Ghost Music. A very, very interesting kind of, very promising but short-lived kind of Western Supermare band that, I'll take them out in a minute. Western Supermare band that kind of did 2 albums and kind of disappeared. Kids went to university, etc. And basically, this album by this band Tritonic, but based in London now, are, like I said, it's 3/4 of Panic Office working together again. One as a producer, one as a performer, one as artwork guy. And just before I came on here, I played this through, and I also played Pick Me Way Through Ghost Music by Panic Office. And I am really, really proud to say and pleased to say that all that promise that Panic Office was showing in their early days has come to fruition on this. This is a cracking album. It's very eclectic. Hardcore art music, art rock, prog rock. There's bits of everything in there. It's bit degentist in places. There are bits that's got some really sweet little acoustic sections. At the end of the third track, The Cliff, it goes operatic. There's kind of elements of kind of new metal. There's bits of old school metal. There's some pure punk moments. But it all kind of fits together into a really, really good, perfect whole. Pete Jukes, who does kind of most of the, he does the vocals, the guitars, the keyboards, does a lot of the sampling. He's joined with a guy called Jonathan O on bass and vocals, and a drummer called Robert Shannon. I've got to take my hat off. This is the best album. Okay, I know we're only a few weeks in, but this is the best album I've received this year so far. Really, really good. This is kind of, I've played this album through a couple of times over the last few days, and I get a real buzz every time I hear it. So highly recommend it. Highlights for me, just in case the guys are going to watch. I really love Arrows. Kind of acoustic-y number. Battleship is an absolute belter. On the Way Home, an out-and-out punk number, and then there's the epic closing cut, Hector, which kind of sums up all the kind of musical ideas that's thrown around the rest of the album into a kind of finale. Yeah, I just recommend that anyone that's got half an ear for decent music at least checks this out online and streams it and gives it a listen, because it's great, it's good, it's brilliant. Yeah, Tritonic, Port of Spain, from December last year. Great stuff. Okay, put that back, and then I shall reach for another bit of vinyl. Oh, going a bit slow today. I'll have to see if I can raise the pace a bit. Anyway, here we go. Bit of new wave of British heavy metal for you. This is Rock Ain't Dead by the fantastic Heavy Pettin, from, when was it? 1985, this one. Now, loads of you that don't know, Heavy Pettin, oh sorry, there's the front, there's the back. You can tell where these guys were coming from just by looking at them. And slip this out. Yeah, there's the kind of credits and live pics. There's kind of sort of album credits on that side. Heavy Pettin, Glasgow, one of Glasgow's contributions to the new wave of British heavy metal. Band that kind of built themselves a reputation through sheer hard road work, gigging all over the country from about 1980 onwards. Eventually got themselves through sheer legwork, got themselves to deal with Polydor Records. Brian May produced their first album. This is their second album. I can't remember who produced this, and I just put it in the sleeve away. But anyway, and then you know, promised much, but you know, like so many of these bands, you know, talent is not proof of success, and for reasons not helped by in 1986 when they entered the Eurovision Song Contest before it was cool to do so, with a really naff ballad called Romeo that was written and produced by a child molester, Jonathan King. That kind of shot their career down in flames. Their follow-up album to this, The Big Bang, didn't get released until a few years after the band split. But anyway, this is Heavy Pettin at their height. This is my favourite of the three original Heavy Pettin albums. This is a great album. If you like, probably the biggest band to compare it with is probably kind of Pyromania or a High and Dry era Def Leppard. It's commercial as hell, but on the other hand, it's engaging, it's slick, there's great cuts on here. Rock Ain't Dead, Soul Survivor, North Winds, Heart Attack, Walking with the Angels, Let's Throw a Party. Every track's just a banger, complete and utter sort of like commercially slick metal classic. There is an elephant in the room with this, and that's the which I think the guy's name's not Punky Meadows, he was a guitarist. Hammy somebody or other, the vocalist, has one of those voices that's a bit Marmite. It's a bit chalk and cheese. He sounds like a cross between Nazareth Dan McCaffrey and Judas Priest Rob Halford. It's high pitched, but it's kind of gut wrenching grunts, but in a very high register. Not an easy listen. Once you get used to him, I really rate the guys because it's a distinctive vocal. It's almost a unique. It is a unique vocal, but like many people with unique vocals, it can turn as many people off as it turns them on. So beware of that. But overall, it's a great album. Probably the strongest of their three original albums. Heavy Pettin, of course, since reformed. I'll deal with their most recent release, the 4-play EP, on an earlier edition of this vlog. And then of course drummer Gary Mowat, which I've got to mention because I kind of know him. He's a really nice bloke, as is his missus. Has got his own great band, Burnt Out Wreck. But it was well worth checking out as well. But anyway, Heavy Pettin, Rock Ain't Dead, 1985. Just a really, really good album. Go get. If you're into metal, you'll love it. But beware of the vocal. Okay, next up is something I wasn't going to do compilations on this vlog as such. I was going to do the occasional one-off, nothing but compilation selection. But I dragged this out, and this is kind of half a compilation. Basically, this is the Monster Show by Lordi, and it's the collected best of their first two studio albums, which are the title of both of which have completely forgotten me. I should have made notes that tell you in here. Anyway, this came out in 2004. There's the front. There's the back. Pop this open. Oh yeah, because this is a double disc thing, isn't it? There's the back. There's a DVD. and then you've got pictures of the band. Now, this, so although it's technically a compilation, this is Lordi's first UK release. The other two, the first two albums, the title of which are just completely gone out of my mind, were never actually, before this, weren't officially released in the UK. You could get them on import, but this is their first UK release. So it's a bit like those of early AC/DC albums. It's a UK original, but a compilation elsewhere. So, but then it's still a compilation because those first two albums have since been reissued over here. But anyway, I just got this because, like I said, you know, I'd always liked a bit of Lordi, and you know, and when they sort of like suddenly hit the big time after the Eurovision win, you know, I was aware of them before then, and quite a lot of what I heard. I decided that I should want to go back to their pre-Eurovision stuff, because I've got some of their later stuff. Go back to their pre-Eurovision stuff, so I grabbed this. Great little set of tracks. Includes some belting songs. I mean, my favourite, all-time favourite Lordi track, "The Devil Is a Loser's" on here, along with "Icon of Dominance," "Wake the Snake," "Gonna Rock the Hell Out of You." If you know what, well, if you've seen that Eurovision performance, you'll know where Lordi are coming from. They're tongue-in-cheek, they're fun, they're boisterous, they're just a band that kind of don't take themselves that seriously, and I do like that in a metal band. I think one of the things that can kill metal dead for me is a band that kind of takes itself far too seriously and disappears. Don't be so nice. Can you hear me, Metallica? Yeah, but you know, a band that kind of can not take themselves that seriously, have fun with their music and express that fun through their sound. Scores really highly in my book. This album, all Lordi's stuff is fun, and there's a lot of fun on this. It also, like I said, got a little DVD on here, contains the promo videos for Blood Red Sandman, Devil Is a Loser, and Would You Love a Monster Man, all of which are quite impressive to watch. So, if you want to get hold of some early Lordi, because this is a couple of years before the Eurovision saga, so if you want to get your hands on some Lordi, some early Lordi, and have a real good listen and probably enjoy it, this is where you'll go. The Monster Show compilation by Lordi, 2004. Okay, next up, another bit of vinyl. And here we have Hellcats by Hellcats. It's a 5-track mini album. There's the front. There's the back. There we are, Radio Records, subdivision of Atlantic. 1982 this came out. Now, I've mentioned on a couple of earlier shows, I've mentioned a couple of albums by a band called Starz, S-T-A-R-Z, or Z if you're listening over there in the States. New York, one of those bands that's kind of, well, hugely influential, especially on things like the glam, on the hair metal movement. Hugely influential on bands like you know, sort of Motley Crue and Poison and Quiet Riot and Rat, etc. But a band that kind of, despite, you know, 4 great albums and touring with everyone from Blue Oyster Cult to ZZ Top, never really kind of got the kind of breaks they deserved, and you know, remain a cult underground band. Well, after the Coliseum Rock album, which was the last official Starz album in 1980 I think it was, the band kind of began to fall apart, and 2 of them, guitarist Richie Reno and vocalist Michael Lee Smith, initially had material that was going to be the never realised Fifth Stars album. Although they did do an album back in about the 1990s when they reformed, which I've not heard. But anyway, when it realised the stars were over, they decided to reform the band slightly and become Hellcats. And they released this, the one and only, the only thing the band ever did. Little 5-track EP. It's got the hints of stars without kind of really kind of getting the Stars formula. I mean, Stars are a great band, please do check them out. But this one, I don't know. It's kind of Stars, the disappointing sequel. And I don't mean that in too much of a negative way, because there's some great songs on here. The closing cut on side 2, also Erotica, an all-time favourite song of mine, about a bloke who's in a car and he's at the traffic lights, and he's driving into work every day. He sees this rather attractive young lady in the car next to him, and he can't bring himself to talk to him, so he decides, I know, if I accidentally have a fender bender with her, we'll have to swap insurance details, so that'll be the icebreaker. Typical kind of twisted kind of Michael Lee Smith kind of vocal approach. I mean, he was the guy that wrote Pull the Plug about girlfriends in comas, etc., long before Morrissey got his hands on the idea. Other cuts on here, again, the songs are okay. Rock and Roll Man's pretty good. Teenage Tiger's probably the second best track on the album. You Make It Swell, yeah, a little bit kind of an innuendo-ridden kind of, but there again, for half an hour, I watch Carry On movies. But I don't know, maybe it's the production, maybe it's the fact that, you know, the Stars were a band that were together since about 1974 and had about 6-7 years of kind of really tight working together with the same lineup, and this is a kind of different lineup trying to find its feet and never realising it. I don't know, but it's good, but it's not great. Quite collectible in the UK. This is the only copy I've ever seen, and I've had people kind of looking at it enviously in the past, but may take some tracking down, but you know, worth the persistence if you want. Yeah, Autoerotica by not Autoerotica, Hellcats by Hellcats. Good stuff. Autoerotica's my favourite cut on there. Okay, next up, CD type. I shall fly through this one quite quick. There's the front. This is Pretty Girl Smiles EP by Bimbo Spam. There's the back. And there's the disc. Oh no, it's just called Bimbo Spam, not Pretty Girl Smiles. That was Pretty Girl Smiles came out as a single. That's right. Apologies. Now, Bimbo Spam, Bristol, kind of slightly punky, slightly folky indie rock band. Simple as that. So this album's from 2008. They were around for a couple of years. Saw them live a couple of times. They were quite fun. Had them in the Beach FM studio for an interview. They were nice people. And as far as I'm aware, this is the only thing they released. Although, as I said, Pretty Girl Smiles was also available as a separate download single. Yeah, it's you got Ruth Patchett, lead vocalist, quite an engaging voice, not quite an earthly voice. It's nothing spectacular, but it's human and homely. You got Nigel Kinchin on acoustic guitar, Fraser Lapthorne on electric. There's been a couple of other bands in Bristol. I can't remember exactly which ones though. But anyway, he plays electric guitar and plays bass on there. And then there's a Christina Smith on drums and percussion. Yeah, a sweet little album, 4-tracker. Ticks along sweetly. So Pretty Girl Smiles, probably the strongest track on here. Whistling in the Dark, Patience is a Vulture. Love the title. Song's pretty good as well, and then TikTok as well. Overall, pretty good. Don't know whatever happened to them. One of these kind of local bands that kind of come and disappear into the night and you never hear of them again. Although, like I said, the name Fraser Lapthorne rings bells. I think he might have turned up in a couple of other bands later. But anyway, you can have if you want a copy, and I do recommend if you try and check it out. You might have a hell of a job finding it, but yeah, it's not bad. Kind of acousticy, kind of punk, a bit acoustic, bit punk, bit indie. Yeah, Bimbo Spam, eponymous EP. Next up, we're going to keep it local to Bristol. This is the Crafty Beggars, the Poor Boys Songbook. Now, I mentioned the Crafty Beggars on an earlier edition when I talked about their Phallic Symbols album. This is the third of their 3 albums they've released. Although, chatting to Dick, one of the main guys, there is other unreleased material that may at some point be collected, remixed and released. I'll wait that with interest because I like the Crafty Beggars are great. If you don't know, Crafty Beggars, they're kind of bluesy, I won't say acoustic, but they're not always fully acoustic. I did kind of do a few rock and rolly numbers as well. Kind of folk influence type band, but yeah, interesting kind of mix, kind of blues folk. Almost got with Dick's vocals and lyricisms, almost had like a punk vibe to them in places as well. So this is the third of their albums. Sorry, there's the front. There's the back. 2013 this one came out. No, dedication to someone that was involved, a guy called Dave that was also involved with the band that is no longer with us anymore. Get in there. And there's the disc. Yeah, so the third of their albums, and I've got to admit, Phallic Symbols is my favourite Crafty Beggars album, but the other two are pretty damn good as well. This one, and there's, if you don't know Dick, the opening, their debut. There's some songs here about life. There's a Second-Hand Computer Blues, or this is just one that jumps out at me, which is a kind of, you know, lament about buying knackered old cheap computers. House full of beer cans, about drinking and not taking your rubbish out effectively. Old Blues in New Shoes, Blind Lemming, If My Life Had Meaning, a touching little kind of plaintive kind of, not a cry for help, it's just a kind of musings on the human condition. It's immaculately played with guests including there's a pedal steel player, there's a violinist, there's a mandolin player, lots of kind of little guest appearances from some of the great and good on the Bristol kind of folk and blues scene on here, which we have got one in the city. And it's not, it's a good album that, and I say I'll come back to Crafty Beggars time and time again because I find them really, really enjoyable. The band no longer officially operating. Dick now lives in Spain, and I think Ned might have passed away. I apologise if he hasn't, but that's what I remember. Although, like I said, Dick has said that he has got some other material that he's thinking of kind of getting remastered and maybe putting out as a kind of retrospective outtakes album or something, or maybe the unreleased Crafty Beggars album. Their stuff might be a bit hard to find. But believe me, if you do enough digging, you should be able to turn up a few songs, if not an album in its entirety, and it's well worth the effort in checking them out, because the Crafty Beggars were great. Okay, next up, going back to vinyl, I'm going to go live again. Here we are, Mama's Boys live tonight. 19, he says, having a look, 91 this one. There's the front, there is the back. There's the inner sleeve. Yeah. Now, Mama's Boys, a band that I've always had a lot of time for in both their incarnations. Started out as a greasy kind of upstart young fresh-faced Irish power trio, three brothers, did three great albums. Was it Plug It In, Turn It Up, and Power and Passion? I think I've dealt with Power and Passion on an earlier edition of this vlog. But anyway, back then they were kind of one of Northern Ireland's archetypal New Over British heavy metal bands. They were probably the lead New Over British heavy metal band out of Northern Ireland. Band came out of County Fermanagh over there in Ulster, and really, really good stuff. Then about 1986-87, they had a bit of a lineup change. Bassist and vocalist John McManus was getting around into problems with his voice, so they brought in one of the first about 3 or 4 different lead vocalists that came in to front them. Led to a sound change. They became less heavy metal, more kind of heavy rock. Started using keyboards, etc. And it still worked. Normally, if a band that I really liked did that, I'd have big questions about them. But I was saying about the Mama's Boys, even as a more commercial hard rock band, I still found them very, very engaging. Did a couple of albums, and then Tommy McManus, the drummer there, sadly then died of leukemia not long after this live album came out. And the band then decided to, they weren't the Mama's Boys when the 3 Mama's Boys were only 2 Mama's Boys, so they called it quits. John and Pat, the other 2 brothers, have surfaced in various other Irish bands, and I think the vocalist on here, who is Mike Wilson, turned up in a band called Glider at one point. No, that was a great Irish metal band. I may be wrong on that, correct me if I am in the comments. But anyway, this, if I remember rightly, was their last release before the death of Tommy. Although I think there was a kind of another album that came out after this, which I've not got, which had some it seems like tracks like Cardboard City on it, which was a kind of album that was never finished, but was finished off and released in his memory. But anyway, this is a live album recorded at various points on their 1991 European tour. Every chance I'm on here, because I saw them on this tour at the old beer keller in Bristol, and I did say make a lot of noise. We're recording this for a live album, but there again, apparently they were doing that at every gig they played. They recorded every set and picked the best. But there's a chance that I'm on here in the audience going woo and yay. Cracking set. Obviously my favourite stuff tends to be the ones lifted from their earlier albums. Let's have a look. You got Runaway Dreams, Straightforward, Bedroom Eyes, Hot Blooded. All good stuff. You got the nice, a couple of sort of like slower ones. Lasting at Night, Lonely Soul. With some like lovely soulful guitar in, and actually kind of Mike Wilson on here proving that his damn fine vocalist. He can kind of croon as well as scream and yell. Yeah, really good album. Some of the Mum's Boys stuff gets, I don't know if this is currently still available on CD or digital. Their stuff gets periodically reissued, so I think if it's not available at the moment, it will be at some point in the future. But you know, if you never check the Mum's Boys out, both their early 3-piece metal days and their later 4-piece hard rock days, yeah, you will not be disappointed. It's all pretty damn fine stuff. Mum's Boys from Enniskillen in Northern Ireland. Okay, next up, I have another Bristol band. Black Hearts and Bloody Hands, Cars on Fire. There's the front. There's the back. Pop this open. There's the disc. There's the back of the booklet with the band. And the rest of the booklet's just artwork and lyrics, and in here there's there's the press release, and there's up there. There's a little notes that I made about what tracks we've got swearing on. On FM radio in Bristol, in the UK, you're not supposed to drop F-bombs. How strictly the rules are enforced varies on who's the station manager at the time. Our current station manager will only comment if you, to quote him, take the piss. At the time, the station manager at the time was, you know, you dropped an F-bomb, you were in the office. Drop 2, you're on a warning. Drop 3, you're off air. It's one of those kind of situations. Tied up with the not station policy, but it's these kind of quite, how do I put it, UK broadcasting regulations. Anyway, Cars on Fire. Bristol kind of describe it. Definitely metal. Maybe a bit metalcore, but not overall yeah, it's commercial, but on the other hand, it's really heavy with lots of swearing and wow type vocals. Very intense band. You know, kind of bordering on hardcore maybe. This was their second album. I think there was one before this. Band are currently, well, they split up about 2014. This album's 2012, by the way. They split up around about 2014, although, you know, there is still activity on their Facebook page. And, you know, whether that's kind of, it's just fan-led, or whether they're on hiatus and at some point do intend to come back for unfinished business, I don't know. But I do know they've left this album behind them. So Black Hearts and Bloody Hands, damn fine record. It was highly rated on the 2012 album of our album of the year contest. Got a lot of good reception from the BCFM listeners. Rock Druid didn't exist at that particular point, it was just BCFM. Yeah, there's some great tracks on here. Of Grace and Bone, with a guest appearance from Charlie Simpson from ex-Busted and current Fight Star bass player, who kind of just met these guys kind of on the fly and befriended them. Marchioness of the Night is a great song as well, kind of tense and heavy, and Singapore Grip, Quarter Deck Confession, Fractions of the Truth. Every track of this jumps out the speakers, punches you in the face and demands that you listen. Just a very, very good, very, very engaging kind of contemporary metal album. Might still be available, I don't know. If not, it's sold quite well at the time, so second-hand copies should be floating around on the second-hand market should you care to look. But, you know, check them out. Cars on Fire, currently on hiatus, but Cars on Fire, guys, if you do hear this, and you do fancy a one-off reformation gig, let me know, because you're a band I never got to see live when you were around. Every time you were gigging, I was either gigging with my own band or, you know, kind of busy with work and that. But, you know, come back, do a gig and I'll come and see you. But anyway, Cars on Fire, Black Hearts and Bloody Hands 2012. Pretty damn good. Okay, next up, we're going to go to Switzerland. And we'll have this one. One Vice at a Time by Krokus. There's the front. There's the back, with the Krokusy people being very Krokusy, poking their heads out through the grass and with their saffron stamen. Don't know why I said that, but anyway. And here we got lyrics. Now it's interesting that although they got Metal Rendezvous and Hardware there as previous albums, there's about 4 or 5 albums before that with Krokus, because Krokus have been going since the early 70s. But you know, I don't seem to acknowledge any of the albums before Metal Rendezvous. Don't know why that is. But anyway, Krokus. Switzerland's answer to AC/DC. There's no other way you can put this. These guys sound so AC/DC that that when Bon Scott died in 1980, Mark Storace was, or Storace, whatever his name was a seriously considered by everybody, in fans of music, press, etc., to be an ideal replacement for him. I'm glad they didn't, because as Judas Priest found out with Ripper Owens, replacing a vocalist with a sound alike just makes you sound like a tribute band. You know, AC/DC decided to have a change of pace with Brian Johnson, and it still meant that Mark Storace stayed with Krokus, and you know, which I'm most proud about, because I do like Krokus. Yes, they sound like AC/DC, but you know, AC/DC are just a simple rock and roll band, and you can't play that kind of simple riff-driven rock and roll without sounding a bit AC/DC. It's just the way it works. There's only a limited number of notes and ways you can play them in the world. And this is just a great album. This is just an amazing record. My favourite of the Krokus albums. Others like the Blitz and that run it close, but this one, pretty damn fine. If only for the opening cut, which is the seminal Long Stick Goes Boom. It's got a riff to die for. It's got some very innuendo, you know, kind of lyrics. You know, Long Stick Goes Boom. I wonder what that's about, eh? And it's not about firearms, I can tell you that. But you know, it's just a fantastic kind of anthemic chorus. Krokus's finest out, well, finest 5 minutes in my opinion. The rest of the album's pretty good as well. Bad Boys Ragdolls, Playing the Outlaw to the Top, Down the Drain. A surprisingly good cover of The Doors' American Woman. I'm on the Run, Save Me, and then Rock and Roll at the end. This is an album to party to. This is one I can stick on, you know, while I'm doing the hoovering or something around the flat, and it, you know, makes your kind of boring household chores go with a boogie. You know, you're sitting on you got a long bus journey, stick this on your Walkman or your phone, and the time flies by. Yeah, this is still available. You can download this as digital download from all good download sites. CDs, it's out on CD as well. Yeah. I think when it was. So I should have a look in the sleeve again. Krokus, long stick goes boom from 1980. No, one vice at a time from 1982. Again, you can see I've had this album since it got released, and all the glue's come undone on the cover. But like I said, I collect for the vinyls in top quality nick, and I collect for the music, not for the condition of the sleeve. So yeah, 1982, one vice at a time, Krokus. Krokus' best album, although they've done some other good ones as well, and one I recommend to anyone that likes a bit of old heavy rock and heavy metal. Leads us on to our final CD, and it's this. This is Thunder and Lightning from Thin Lizzy, 1983. There's the front. There's the back. Oh, this is a CD kind of pressing, an early CD pressing, you know. One of the first CDs I brought because my vinyl got scratched. Yeah, it met with a kind of, there's the disc. It met with a kind of cataclysmic kind of accident, which rendered the first side unplayable. So I went out and brought a CD to replace it, but I'll come to that in a minute. And there's bugger all information on here because it's a basically repress, and that's the first problem I have with this album. I have a number of problems with this album. This particular pressing has not been remastered for digital, and as anyone that listens to both vinyl and CD will know, you can't take an analog source from a vinyl recording or a tape and just bang it straight on CD without a remaster. It just sounds empty and sparse and not very fulfilling, and it cuts the other way. If you take a CD digital recording and just press it straight onto vinyl without mastering for vinyl, it tends to sound very muffled and cluttered, which is the reason I don't buy many new vinyls, because not many of them are mastered for vinyl. Most of them are just kind of record companies trying to catch in on the new vinyl craze by just pressing up digital recordings, ignoring the fact they sound crap. But my problem with this album goes a little bit beyond just the kind of, this is a unremastered, undigitally remastered CD pressing. My problem with this lies in the album itself. Now, this wasn't intended to be the last Thin Lizzy album. It was going to be the last one while they did a hiatus bit, and you know, then it won't do his solo work, and then the idea was he was going to come back sort of late 80s, more Lizzy. Well, sadly, you know, heroin overdose got in the way and he didn't make it. One of the greatest tragedies in rock and roll history, in my opinion. But they left this behind them. Prior to this, there had been they'd done a couple of albums with Snowy White, sort of like best known for his solo work, Bird of Paradise, and also with his work with Roger Waters and Pink Floyd. And, you know, the two albums he did with them, Chinatown and Renegade, I really do like. However, Snowy White left and was replaced, you know, I think he was asked to leave because personality-wise, although he was a great player, didn't think of the rest of the band. Lizzy were notorious party animals, and Phil Lynott once said that Snowy White took Mogadon as a stimulant. So, yeah, they kind of went their separate ways. And they got in John Sykes, the former Tigers of Pantane guitarist, who would then later go on to screw up Whitesnake. But anyway, this is the album that resulted, and I'm not a big fan, I'll be honest with you. It doesn't sound very Lizzy, and I know that sounds very glib, and yes, bands can change, but you know, this is a heavy metal album. Lizzy were never a heavy metal band, and Phil Lynott's kind of very sort of soulful, silky smooth kind of Irish crooning style, fits over the your classic Lizzy album, on your classic Lizzy albums, and even the Snowy White era ones perfectly. His vocals don't sit well on tracks like The Title Cut and Holy War, Cold Sweat, Heart Attack, where where they're a band that's kind of heavy, doing the Motorhead style of stuff, almost. The music's there, but the vocals, they're great. Phil Lynnett's a great voice, and it's great on this, but it doesn't quite work, in my opinion. There are a couple of places it does. There's The Sun Goes Down, which is a beautiful, kind of almost like old school Lizzy track, written by Darren Walton, the keyboard player. And, it's a slower track. The guitars are reined in. Lynnett's voice can shine on it. Baby Please Don't Go, a bit more of a kind of old school Lizzy boogie track. Again, it works, but on other places, don't get me wrong, I like the songs, and I even like the way they played. It's just that it doesn't sound Lizzy. It's odd. It's like weird. I do play the album, and I do kind of go, that's good, but on the other hand, I'll put it this way: I'll get more of a kick playing an album like Renegade or Bad Reputation or Johnny the Fox, and I'll do it out of playing this. This is enjoyable, but I don't get that kind of wow Lizzy kind of vibe. Shame. And of course I don't really call I'm call me a sort of like a Philistine, but I'm one of these no Lynette, no Lizzy kind of guys, so I don't really count what they've been doing since as Thin Lizzy. Although when they call themselves Black Star Riders, I'm well behind them. They're a great band, but to me, Lizzy died with this album and the death of Phil Lynott, and they'll never be replaced. But yeah, a saddish end for an amazing band. And we lead you on to this one, another album from 1983, Def Leppard's Pyromania. Yeah, there's the front, there's the back. No, there's no inlay card or anything in here. Def Leppard's third album. Sorry, show the back properly. Def Leppard's third album, and the one that kind of made them from being British heavy metal up and comers into international megastars. And in my opinion, this is where they peaked. The first three Def Leppard albums they've each got their own unique stamp. On Through the Night is very British heavy metal. It's very naive, because bearing in mind when these songs were written, some of these guys were in their late teens. Very naive, very enjoyable, very new over British heavy metal. High and Dry sees the band developing, finding their feet as songwriters, finding themselves as musicians, and then this, where they kind of managed to hit that kind of, some people may not agree with me, feel free to tell me in the comments if you don't, but they hit that stride between kind of out and out commercialism but still maintaining the kind of rock roots. Yes, you've got cuts like Photograph on here, very commercial kind of lighter waving power ballad single. Almost not power ballad, but it's getting that way. But on the other hand, it's balanced out with epics like Billy's Got a Gun, Die Hard the Hunter, Rock of Ages, Rock Till You Drop. Great kind of commercial as hell, but fantastic hard rock anthems. This is the band at their peak. This is the band at their doing their stuff. And I know some of the more metal purists are going to go, oh no, it's... Personally, I love this album. I saw them on the tour, saw them on the High and Dry tour as well, but saw them on the tour for this. Absolutely loved it, with all the flames going out great big flamethrowers going out the back of the Coal Snow, nearly setting the place on fire. and just fun times. You know, it's an album that I return to for listening pleasure if I'm in the mood for this kind of music, you know, fairly regularly. Sadly, this story does not have a happy ending. Look at one of the earlier episodes in this vlog for my take on the follow-up album Hysteria, which in my opinion is one of the biggest piles of shite ever recorded. But anyway, to me, this is Def Leppard's final contribution to the world of rock and roll, and I love them for it. Yeah, Pyromania by Def Leppard, 1983. So that's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed. Remember, you can like and comment. Comments are down there on YouTube, over there on Facebook. Yeah, tell your mates if you like what you hear. I'm not after making money out of this. I just want to kind of spread the word and talk about music and record collecting to like-minded people. So yeah, so that's it for this week. Until next, have a great week. Stay socially distant, and I'm out of here. Bye.